What's good, hockey fans? Welcome to the April 3rd edition of the Go With The Flow NHL podcast provided by Let Me Be Frank Sports. I'm Nick Phillips, joined by my Liney's, my co-hosts, Kevin Bartman and Dan Merritt. Fellas, how are you?
Boys, good to be back for another week of hockey. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, I'm not too shabby. What's going on with you guys?
Well, I'm in a better mood than Drew fucking Doughty. We want to be honest, because that man is having probably the worst plus minus of his career right now on an absolutely dreadful LA Kings squad. I think a lot of people thought that they were a little bit of a slow team, maybe didn't have a ton of offensive firepower, but you still got some good veterans on that team, like Doughty, like Anze Kopitar, but things have not gone well, and I know the three of us kind of were having a little fun at Doughty's expense, even though he's a great player, still one of the elite defensemen in the league. I think we all acknowledge that. But obviously he was pissing and moaning about Matthew Tkachuk of the Flames and Brent Burns of the Sharks, obviously. And it's kind of like, you know what, man, like those two guys are having great seasons. And, of course, we understand why maybe he hates Tkachuk. The guy's a bit of a pest, but Brent Burns seems kind of like a universally well-liked guy. So that was kind of interesting. But Drew Doughty, after the game last night, I believe they dropped another one last night, and he said, I wish we played all 4 games in a row, to be honest. I just want to get this over with. So Doughty, again, having a little fun with the media. Maybe not fun, but another quote for us to talk about, at least. I don't know who wants to jump on it first, but pissing and moaning yet again.
Yeah, I'll go for it. I mean, not desirable season, obviously. They're last in the West, second to last in the league, only 5 points ahead of a terrible Ottawa Senators team. I feel for him. I probably would be saying the same thing if I was him. If I was in his position, I would want to just play the 4 games back to back and get it over as quickly as possible. But I don't know. It kind of goes. I might have touched on it last week. I probably did. To me, it all just goes back to just don't express it to the media. You can think those feelings inwardly. You can say them to your family and friends that are not on the team. But to kind of go to the media and look, everybody's struggling on that team. It's not just one person's fault or whatever. So to come out and say it, I'm sure a lot of guys on that squad are thinking the same thing, but at the same time, when you kind of say it like that, it just shows, to me at least, it just kind of shows that you really don't have any faith in your teammates. And I understand that they're not doing well, but, I don't know. To me, it's sort of, in a way, throwing everyone else under the bus kind of thing. But at the same time, I completely understand. Everybody has their breaking points. Drew Doughty has certainly hit his with his comments last week, and now, it's more the same. I mean, they are literally the worst team in the West. So at the same time, while I'd like him to kind of keep his mouth shut, I can totally understand where he comes from. And, that it just came out in that quote. And, I totally get it.
Yeah, there's one argument that he should, be a little bit more professional about it and, not be totally truthful and say how he really thinks to the media, just, sort of give him lip service and say, it's been a tough year. But, we're going to try to finish strong, those type of things. But then again, it's also kind of cool to see, like, it's cool to hear a player, what he really thinks. And obviously, if he gives lip service, like I just said, we all know how he really feels. Like, he's pretty pissed off and he just wants to get it over with. So I guess it's refreshing to hear that. Although it doesn't help him because it's, immediately following his real, bitching comments about what Matthew Tkachuk week before. So he's kind of on a little hot streak of being a little baby. But this is a little more like understanding because we get what he's talking about.
I wonder who he looks at in that room and just is just disgusted with in general. I mean, could a guy like Kovalchuk or I don't know. I feel like that's a team, though, that although they're not playing well, that a lot of those guys have been playing with each other for several years. So it's kind of a weird thing where, you get these teams, they win the Stanley Cup, and like even look at teams like the Blackhawks and maybe not the Blackhawks, but like Boston from, a few years ago. And like most of that team really isn't together now. It's pretty much just like Marchand, Chara, Bergeron, I guess there's obviously the core guys from the Blackhawks, but that Kings team still is like, there's a few guys on that team that have all won a Stanley Cup together, right? So it's kind of weird that he'd, throw the whole team under the bus in a way and just be like, oh, I can't wait to get this over with. This has been a dreadful year for me personally, for our team, and I can't wait to get away from the rink and have to basically play with these guys or experience a season like this again. It's kind of a rough one. I mean, considering that they still have plenty of guys that, like I said, have not at least one cup together, if not two, depending on who they are. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I didn't say in what I said earlier was I think that quote also isn't just expressing, maybe some frustration with the team. He just genuinely wants the season to end so he can go and relax. When you're struggling this bad and you can't get out of it, and obviously you have no hope of getting in the playoffs, you really you're like, screw it. Like, I'm done. Let's just throw this one in the trash can. Let's not think about it, kind of thing. I'm sure he just wants to go to his home, go see his family and friends, relax, maybe have a couple rounds of golf and start, next season fresh and new, and maybe they come back, better than ever or whatever. So I think that's kind of the other part to it, is he's just, I think it's honestly, I guess I would have to have seen the quote, kind of see how he says it in his body language. Because either the quote is extreme frustration in his teammates, or it's just exasperation at the situation and he just wants it to end so he can go home and relax. So totally understandable, like I said earlier.
Yeah, it could also be just sort of like he wants to get this season over and like try to get going on next season already.
Yeah,
get
exactly.
Training, get in shape, things like that, like you were alluding to. So yeah.
Well, he's not the only great player in his division, even that's feeling a little frustration, maybe a sense of helplessness with the organization that he signed long-term with, and that is arguably the best player in the league, Connor McDavid. We've gone at the Edmonton Oilers many times on this podcast, whether it was Chiarelli making bad move after bad move or just any of the other random shenanigans that have gone on with that organization, the old boys club up there in Edmonton. But McDavid with some near the end of the year post-game quotes from Monday night. It wasn't good enough all year. We did our best to stay in the fight. It's been an insane season. Coach and GM change. My frustration level is really, really high. I'm not happy about it. We have a lot of crap to figure out. So
yeah,
that's the guy that's more of our season sucked and let's get after it maybe next year, but we've got a lot of work to do, whereas Doughty's just like, I can't wait to get the fuck away from here.
Yeah, it's two sides to the same coin. I think, Kevin, you alluded to kind of a more like diplomatic answer. I think McDavid's is that one. Obviously he's still showing his frustration, his exasperation, saying they have a lot of work to do. The other thing I'd like to point out, we were talking about this off air, the Oilers, I believe, are the first team in NHL history to have two players hit the 100-point mark and miss the playoffs.
I think they're the third. There was like
third. Okay,
Stastny and Goulet on one of the. I saw the stat myself, so not to in here, but I think it was the 86-87 Quebec Nordiques had Michel Goulet and Stastny each get over 100, and one of the Penguin teams in the late 80s, or I think it was 89-90, they had Paul Coffey and Mario Lemieux.
Oh, right. Yeah. I forgot about that one. No, that was good. Keeping me in check. Making sure the folks get their information correct. But
we're not fake news here on Go.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, and then when you look at it that way, that just makes it even worse. And if anybody kind of deserves to go off and kind of maybe throw some people under the bus, it is Connor McDavid, because, like we were saying, Drew Doughty's like a minus whatever he is. He hasn't been, that whole team has been off their game, but Draisaitl and McDavid have not. And so if anything, that I feel like allows them to get even more frustrated. And I like the way that McDavid handled it a lot better, because I think McDavid's got a little bit more justifiable, like, throwing people under the bus maybe kind of thing. And he didn't do it. So, props to him because those two had a hell of a season. They're on another team, look the fuck like a playoff team, even like, a wild card team. That's a team that you don't want to face come a week from now.
The one thing my one thought is because I'm looking at the Oilers roster right now, and so you see obviously McDavid and Draisaitl at the top with 115, 102 points respectively. After that, it's quite the drop off in production. You have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Tobias Reeder in third? Is Tobias Reeder in third, Kevin?
Isn't?
No, he's not.
That poor kid.
He's pretty close. He's what do you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14th.
Oh,
so he's right in the middle of the bell curve. So he's not too good, not too bad. But so you got McDavid and Draisaitl, then you got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at 65 points. Then after that, it's Darnell Nurse with 39 points, who's a defenseman. And then 2 out of the 4 after that are also defensemen. So it's pretty, I don't know what the term is to describe this. It's just terrible to see.
Secondary scoring. They have
exactly. How can you?
Did you say where Cassian was?
Cassian is
Sorry,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th.
Because he had it might have been the year that they went to the second round and lost to the Ducks. I think it was that year. I think he was third in scoring, and it was absolutely absurd how much he was scoring. And I think a lot of it was due to the fact that he was on a line with McDavid, but it's just funny to see, the points production from a season that they did well in versus one that they, of course, did not.
Yeah, and so it's the lack of secondary scoring is one thing, but it's also terrible the lazy attempts they've made at trying to address that. They took a flyer on Sam Gagner. They traded for him, I think, or maybe picked him up off waivers a while back, and he sucks. And he's making $3.5 million. Milan Lucic has dropped off the face of the earth ever since they got him. Just throughout, Toby Ryder, as we discussed at length last week, and then a little bit this week, it's just kind of absurd to see the mediocrity. Is that a word?
Yeah, mediocrity. Yeah,
mediocrity. There we go. That this roster is constructed with. You have 2 legit NHL players, 2 top tier NHL players. Then you have a lot of fringe NHL players. A lot of these guys you might see in the AHL on a nightly basis. They are just bad.
Yeah, and they don't have a number 1 defenseman or a number 1 goaltender. So it's so top heavy. You basically are rolling one line every night and putting a lot of pressure, on those 2 guys, and then for them to rack up points on the power play. And then, Darnell Nurse, is he a nice player? Yeah. Is he a top 4 defenseman? Sure. Is he a number 1 guy? Absolutely not. He is not an anchor on a fucking Stanley Cup caliber team. He's just not. He's a guy who should be, on the second pairing, quite frankly, on a real good team. So, it's not a slight against him, but, they don't really have a bona fide number 1 goalie, or not they. I don't think they do. They just don't. That's just a fact. So yeah, it's pretty easy to see that Edmonton they got to hire a new GM first of all. Fucking Gretzky, his brother is Keith is the interim right now, so they got to go nail the GM hire, and then that guy, he's got to go out there and make some moves. And here we go again with fucking Edmonton. It's going to be, where are they going to fall in the lottery? If they get, man, they're going to waste someone again.
If they get fucking Jack Hughes, I'm going to shoot someone. I swear to God. Not really, but you know what I mean.
It's just the same story almost every year, and it's just a vicious circle of getting the first round pick and just either not developing. Obviously McDavid's the exception. Nugent Hopkins kind of is too, but it's how many fucking first round picks or first overalls can you get and just not consistently still be in the shitter? Not even average, below average. I just don't understand. It's they, and obviously Chiarelli was, a big problem, as you just said, but holy fuck, I'm just getting sick and tired of seeing the same thing every year with them. and the same result being the same thing. At the end of the 82 games, they're just nowhere near the playoffs. It's not even like they're fighting for a playoff spot every year. Like, Carolina is to stay into the playoffs, Montreal, all that. Just nothing. They suck.
Like, not only have they missed, like, like, a while back they had, like, Nail Yakupov. He obviously sort of dipped off. Brian Nugent Hopkins has been a little bit iffy. He's a pretty solid player, though. Traded Taylor Hall. Don't know why they did that still. But
Eberle's gone.
Eberle's gone. But now it's like, now they're just absolutely whiffing on their first-round picks. You had Jesse Puljujarvi.
Yep.
I think he was like a top 5 pick, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he, like, there's no place for him on the team, or like they've had talks about trading him.
He had like double hip surgery too, I think.
Yeah, and then Kyler Yamamoto too, who he played in the World Juniors. Like, he's an intriguing prospect, but they've brought him up a couple times, and he like hasn't meshed very well. So, like, they're starting to wonder if there's a place for him on the Oilers. So, like, not only are they just not finding great fit, it's that they're potentially not even finding like NHL worthy players. Like, I mean, obviously they're still super young, and jury's still out, but like, they're not in a place to be missing on prospects, quite obviously. So,
and that's a problem too when you're trying to lure free agents, because Edmonton's not an easy place to get guys to go, because I mean, first of all, the travel's hard playing in Edmonton. It's not an easy place to be. They probably have they probably spend more time on the plane than most teams. I'm sure Vancouver's up there too. Just geographically speaking, like, guys with wives and families, not that it's an awful place, but guys, wives and girlfriends, I mean, they want to be somewhere sunny, or, it's not the biggest city in the league. Obviously, it's a bit of a smaller market as far as guys going to the rink every day. And, the media's hard, and people are shitting on you in the paper all day. And you're constantly under the microscope. So when you only have I'm sure their big free agent pitch is literally just like, we have McDavid, we have Draisaitl. But anyone who has a comparable offer, with a different organization is going to go, well, yeah, they have McDavid and Draisaitl, but what else do they have? Now, if you're a guy who's potentially a top-line guy, you could go, well, I could go sign here for a short-term deal, rack up a bunch of points with these guys, and then if they don't improve the rest of the roster, then I'm going to go get myself a nice contract in a place I actually want to live and would rather play in. But Edmonton's not helping their cause with – when you whiff on your prospects, obviously it doesn't make your team better in the interim, but when your team isn't better in the interim, you can't even look at free agency anymore to help fill those voids, because who the hell could Edmonton sign? I mean, Jesus, they're such a clusterfuck. Like, they literally have to start hitting on picks, and they got to get a little lottery luck, because they're not going to be they're not going to have the best odds at the number 1 pick, but they better hope they don't fall out of the top 2 or whatever they are. Whatever they're going to be. Or I'm sorry, I fucked up there. Kings and I think Ottawa right now would have the 2 best odds to get number 1, but they better hope they get a little lottery luck and slap. You know what I mean?
Well, it wouldn't be Ottawa. It would be Colorado.
Oh, fuck. Jesus.
Oh, my God, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I knew that, but it just slipped my mind.
Also, I don't want to, selfishly plug the Blackhawks, but they also, this is with Chiarelli too, so it might not count, but they got rid of who's come to be a pretty nice player, Drake Caggiula, and they got another year of Brandon Manning, who is stuffed in the minors right now. So, like, it's just another addition to, like, they're totally not evaluating their young talent well at all.
Yeah, and a little fun fact. I don't think anyone blamed him for jettisoning him when it happened, but Ryan Strome now has 16 goals with the Rangers. And as of March 29th, that was the most of any NHL player that was acquired during this regular season. So out of all the pre-deadline acquisitions, Ryan Strome leads all those Jensen goals with their new team. So just another guy that's flourished after leaving the great White North on the west end there. So tough.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go back like another 45 seconds. Like your voice was super messed up.
Yeah. Also, halfway through my sentence, my mic just muted randomly, so that's good. All right, Kev, we're at 20 minutes 3 seconds right here.
20 minutes 3 seconds. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Nick, you're muted, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Was it right when I started talking? That
I don't think I heard the audio fuck up. I was gonna say, Nick, you're fine on my end, but then when I started to talk, my mic muted myself. So either way, we're gonna have to go back.
Do I need to just restart my whole point?
Yeah, I would say just start over.
Okay.
Yeah, there was like after I stopped, there was like probably a 10-second pause, and then like your voice sounded really, staticky. I don't know if you heard that, Dan, but
I didn't hear it. No,
right.
But like I said,
either way,
things got fucked up on my end.
I got it.
Go ahead, buddy.
Hold on. Let me skip that Brian Strom tweet. Okay. 3. I'm not muted, right? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Kevin, going off your point there about them not evaluating their young talent. Now, this is a guy that after they jettisoned him, that no one really blamed them for trading him. He wasn't really a fit at all. But just another young player that's flourished since leaving Edmonton is actually Ryan Strome. And a lot of people have talked about his brother Dylan, who's obviously been really good for the Blackhawks, reuniting with his junior teammate Alex DeBrincat. But the New York Rangers official account actually tweeted out on March 29th. So I don't know if this is still the case, but as of only a few nights ago, Ryan Strome registered his 16th goal with the Rangers since Edmonton traded him there. And that was the most any NHL player acquired during the 2018-19 season had registered with his new team as of that point. So out of all the players traded prior to the deadline during this regular season, Ryan Strome, a guy Edmonton got rid of, a guy that Chiarelli got rid of, flourished in a new market. So, there seems to be a weird theme here where young players seem to be getting chances, elsewhere, and a change of scenery has been healthy for them, and they are actually looking like competence. Because you'd look at a guy like Ryan Strome and just say, well, he's a complete bust. And, totally fair. But it's just like, of course, he's going to play well after he leaves Edmonton, right? So.
Yeah, just a little unfortunate. I was going to say kind of what you said. It doesn't matter where players go to. Fucking A, that was bad. It doesn't matter where players go to or where they came from. There we go. I nailed it that time. You never know who's going to flourish in a new environment. It just goes to show that a change of pace, a change of city, all that stuff, that could be, some of the things that that's the only thing that the player needs to really get going. So, good for him. Bit unfortunate for Edmonton, but Nick, like you said, hindsight's 2020. It's really, you really can't blame him for getting rid of him at that point. It's just, as you were saying, it's just funny that it's Edmonton, and it's sad if you're an Oilers fan.
It's going to be really interesting who they replace Gretzky with, or who they bring on full time to sort of run the team and be the GM. Like, it seems like they're going to need some sort of wonder boy like Kyle Dubas, just who has he's just wicked smart, has all these binders, and he's a big stats guy, and just has some whole different outlook on things, because that's what they need. They need someone who's just totally outside the box and can do a lot with a little, because they obviously can't get talent until they start doing stuff with their current group. It's going to be really tough.
I mean, they have to be in the market for a new head coach as well, right? You'd think, new GM, he's going to probably want to bring in his own guy, and
I don't think Hitch is going to want to stay there either.
Give Joel Quenneville $1 billion. Start there.
Fuck that! I don't think Joel's going to do that either.
I would hate to see him rot in Edmonton, but
yeah, same.
Yeah, that'd be. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't. Yeah, I feel like Joel wants to go to a team that's on the cusp but hasn't gotten over the hump. You know what I mean? Where he can go in and be the
could be like a San Jose potentially, like Peter DeBoer's. Well, he's taken him to a cup final. I forget. It's probably been 5 years or so.
No, 2016. They lost to Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, that was his first. Okay, never mind. He's got more time. I forgot.
He also took Jersey.
He also took Jersey. I don't think San Jose is really going to take that into consideration, but it is worth noting that he's been to 2 cup finals and lost both of them. But that would be a team that I could see Q going to and getting them over the hump. So,
Oh man, yeah, it's maybe a little early to be speculating on where Coach is going to go. But Dan, I want to go back to your comment. Actually, I'll pass it over to you. Just going off when you're talking about Ryan Stormer, you said it doesn't matter where a player goes or where he came from. Well, it seems maybe some fans out in Long Island would we got to do this again. The New York Islanders fans are a bunch of grown children. I think putting it nicely. I respect their passion. I think when the Islanders are good, it's good for hockey. It's good to see that market doing well, especially when the Rangers are kind of twiddling their thumbs, not doing a whole hell of a lot. But, if you want to – this guy we were going to play the audio, but we were having trouble.
Yeah, the audio is a little fucked. So basically I'm going to leave out one very important detail till the end, but Tavares took a penalty. Dude's just sitting there minding his own business. The guy didn't even realize that Tavares was in the box. He had to be told that Tavares was in the box, if I'm not mistaken. So he turns around, looks at him, and he says, "You're a liar, you're a traitor, a snake, a fake." Sick, buddy. Great rehearsed speech. You should have told us. We could have gotten picks for you. Fucking A. And the best part, literally the best part, is he's wearing a Tavares jersey. He's wearing a New York Islanders Tavares jersey, and there's fucking 2 things of duct tape covering the C, and I'm sure he's got duct tape on the back covering the Tavares thing.
Or he called him Tavares. That'd be
Tavares. Tavares also scored a goal in that game. Just
the winner too, right?
Pointing at 2-1. Yeah, they made it. He made it 2-0, and then I forget who scored for the Islanders. But yeah, 2-1 win. Not to beat a dead horse, but even like I would say normal, quote unquote, normal Islanders fans are like, dude, the guy left. He went to go play for his home franchise. Am I upset about it? Yeah. But let's move on. The Islanders are doing pretty well without them, considering everybody thought that they were going to be in the shitter, and they're not. They're in a playoff spot. So it's just this. It's like, just quit fucking whining. Like, oh my gosh, just let the guy go. Like, I don't know. I've always been. I completely agree with the people that are like, do you not think that he was going to go? Of course he was going to go. Like, imagine like me, okay, Chicago fan. Imagine me, I'm playing for, I don't know, who fucking cares. Let's say, the Dallas Stars or something. And my contract ends and, or whatever, and I want to go play for my hometown team, the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, I have a bunch of pictures of me, just like Tavares does in his jammies, of the Leafs shit. Of course I'm going to take that.
Dan, I wouldn't be admitting that to people.
What, jammies? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Tavares did it. He's one of the better players in the NHL. But my point's, of course he's going to fucking take that opportunity. Are you kidding me? Especially with all the young talent that they have right now. Like, get the fuck out of here. Just let it go. That's the thing I don't understand. If they were, like, absolutely shitty, then I could see, people throwing snakes on the ice and yelling at him. The booing's fine. I don't mind that. But the whole, like, yelling at him like he's done this terrible backstabbing thing. Anyway, Kev, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. And also, I mean, I don't mind like guys chirping players when they're in the penalty box. Like, that's just, part of the game. But like, this guy sounded like such a dork. Like, it sounded like he literally had someone, like you said, Dan, like someone had to tell him, "Oh yeah, it's John Tavares. Call him a liar or something." So he just had the dumbest insults, and he just sounded like a total loser. So, I mean, also, like you said, yeah, get over it. Like, you already had your game, get your head-to-head against them, and, you boot him, get it all out of your system, but now it's over. Like,
yeah, and
you guys are a good team. Like, grow up.
Yeah, exactly. And they shit on the Leafs. It wasn't even a close game when he came back the first time. It was a 6-1 final. So you guys got your, revenge or whatever. Just fucking let it go.
Yeah. Thank you next, as the kids say. I believe it is.
Well, we had one more gentleman in New York with a chirp yesterday afternoon. This guy is a straight savage, and he was one of the more polarizing players in the NHL when he played. And if you haven't checked out his Instagram, the guy straight up just gives no fucks. It's quite apparent in his retirement that he's not afraid to ruffle feathers. He still thinks he can hold his own in a potential tilt because some of the shit he says to people in public could possibly spark an altercation. But let's play some Sean Avery audio. This is from the man's own Instagram story. So let's play the audio. This is him riding his bike, I'm assuming in Manhattan or some shit, wherever he lives. And there's two people just kind of grab-assing in the bike lane, just shooting the shit outside the car. And, they're in Sean Avery's way. So here we go.
Guys, why do you stop here? I'm just trying to figure it out. This is a bike lane. So move your fat ass. Let's get going, big boy.
So yeah.
Is it me or does he have like a oddly like soothing voice?
100%.
Like just trying to figure it out. Like, I don't know. Something about his voice just makes me laugh even harder. Like when he did his rant, talking about the Islanders, and then he went off and said that the Rangers fill the building, at Islanders home games.
Right.
I don't know. It's so weird. It's like his voice is soothing. It's weird. Well, we got to cut that.
I thought Kevin was going to go.
I did too. 31-17 on that one.
All right.
I thought Kevin was.
Did you just stop talking, Dan?
Yeah, I stopped talking and hit mute. And then I looked at my camera like, is somebody going to say something?
Robot-y again.
Oh, did it?
Oh, what time was it again?
31-17.
Thank you.
What time was it? 31-17.
Yeah, now it's 31-46.
Okay.
Should I start from the whole soothing voice thing? That's the last thing I remember saying.
Yeah, you could be like, is it me or
Okay.
do I have an erection right now? Listen. God.
All right.
And make sure you really cut this, Kevin.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'll do a countdown from 5 instead of 3. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, is it me or does his voice sound really soothing? Like even in his rant against the Islanders, when he's talking about how the Rangers filled the building. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's weird, but something about his voice, man. I like hearing it, especially when it's stupid shit like this.
Dude, like, I agree with you 100%. Like, it's just like really, I can't describe it. It's just super buttery. Like, God, it's frustrating how I can't describe it, but it's really soothing. Like, I'd let him read books on tape or something. It'd be really good.
He always just seems like he's questioning people. He always just talks in this tone like, are you fucking serious right now?
Like, just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, am I the only one who thinks the way I do? Because you all are a bunch of fucking morons out there. That's kind of like how he kind of goes about it.
Like, this is a funny video, like this one in particular. Also, I mean, what does he expect? He's in presumably New York, and he's in the fucking bike lane. Like, what do you expect? There's going to be people. There's going to be cars.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit about the bike lanes, even though they've been there for a million years.
He probably went by 100 trash bags.
Yeah, if I was driving in Chicago, like, people who ride in the bike lanes are the biggest dickheads. I hate them all. Like, even though they have the right of way, they're in their own lane. Like, I just hate them. Like, walk. You're in Chicago. There's a billion cars. You're an inconvenience to everyone around you. Just walk. Or buy a car. You're rich, Sean Avery. Jesus.
I mean, I guess the guy's staying active post NHL career. He also, in his, the few podcast appearances he's done, he likes to flaunt how big of a smoke his wife is. So maybe he feels like he's got to stay in shape in order to.
Maybe he's on the bike to make a comeback for the Rangers, just so he can stick it to Islanders fans in like 5 years. Just score a goal and do an Andrew Ference and flip off the crowd.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, this is pretty. I don't know. I don't want to go too much in it. We've been pretty much just doing audio, like analysis of audio clips of current and former hockey players this episode, but they're entertaining as shit. And man, I kind of want to see what happens if he just keeps buzzing around town just talking shit to people. Because
probably the only reality TV show I would watch.
Is this Sean Avery just getting in verbal arguments with just dumping them if they try to attack?
Just completely unnecessary arguments that could be completely avoided if he just, like the guy said in the video, just goes around or whatever. But it's Sean Avery, so he's got to open up his mouth. I would watch that. I would watch that all the time, I think.
Yeah, all right. Well, we got a couple actual hockey topics we're going to quickly discuss. Just a couple quick notes. The Calgary Flames have clinched they would be the top point getters in the Western Conference. So the Western Conference road to Lord Stanley's Cup goes through the Saddle Dome, or what is it still the Saddle Dome? I think it is. But they'll be
I think
they'll be one of the throwbacks in the playoffs, so that's going to be lit, as we discussed. That'll be great. Sasha Barkov, some would say one of the more underrated players in the league, but I think it's one of those things where everyone thinks he's underrated, so he's probably getting close to the amount of respect he deserves, but maybe he's not quite there yet. But he registered his 94th point recently, so he has tied the Florida Panthers franchise record in points. So I think with a handful of games here to go, it's safe to assume he's probably going to break it. So congratulations to him. And then I think we wanted to also give one last warning to our Chicago Blackhawks. Is they're not officially dead, but it's like the Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance. They're done. So I don't know if we wanted to do a quick little Stan Bowman rant or what, if we like the way they finished the year, or we could talk about what went wrong. We know we have a lot of Chicago listeners, and we haven't really, we haven't dove too deeply into them last few episodes. But any thoughts on the Hawks, Calgary, Barkov, anything else? Just the actual hockey stuff. We've kind of been dissecting quotes for a bit. Whatever.
Yeah, it's just hard for me to delve into the Hawks because it's been the same problems, poor defense and just inconsistent play overall. At times they give you a glimpse that they really are. They could potentially be a playoff team this year. They went on like a 7-game win streak about a month or so ago, and here we are again where, they can't seem to win anything. As far as the other teams go, which obviously I'd much rather talk about considering playoff season's right around the corner. Congrats to the Flames. That's their second highest in the NHL in terms of points, behind the Lightning, who, by the way, have 60 wins. I don't think that's been done in quite some time. And if you look at their kind of tunnel walkway between the bench and the locker room, they actually rolled out a VIP section for a nightclub or something. So one of the trainers stood there and undid the rope so all the players could walk through. I thought that was funny. But playoffs are looking like they're going to be great. I think if things stay the same, I think Calgary's got a real good chance of moving on to the second round. They'd be playing Colorado right now. I like their chances against them, especially since is it McKinnon out or is it Landeskog? I already forgot. Someone help me here.
Landeskog is out.
Thank you. Okay, I like their
He's skating.
Oh,
is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I still like their chances even when he's back. It does make that first line for the Avs super lethal again, but I think Calgary's just a little bit deeper. We've discussed it a little bit.
You're
Their goaltending.
You're not giving the Yotes a shot here.
I would love it if the Yotes would. The Yotes are the team I'm rooting for. Yeah, I don't know why it just drug, whatever the heck that word is. I don't know why it just totally cast them aside. Because if they, it's going to come down to these last 3 games. Both teams are playing tonight, I believe. Let me take a quick look here. The Avs
Edmonton are underway, and Aaron's playing LA.
Yep. So I'm rooting for the Yotes to kind of win out.
Speaking of which, boys, I don't mean to interrupt here.
No, you're good, man.
Columbus, they're 2 points ahead of Montreal with a tiebreaker because they've got more regulation overtime wins. But Columbus at home tonight against Boston.
Oh, they're getting dusted.
Boston, is pretty much locked up that they're going to have home ice against Toronto, and oh my God, they are dropping the fucking ball. They're down 5-1 at home.
They're getting absolutely dusted.
The team that's facing the Montreal is playing a Tampa team who, other than pride and whatever, they don't really have a lot to play for at this point. I mean, they've got fucking every award in the NHL locked up, whether it's the guys on their team or they're just the accolades their whole roster is accumulating. So Montreal's tied right now. I mean, we're obviously we have to find a consistent time to record. I wish we knew the results of these games. So you guys at home might already know the results well before we're talking about this here now. But I mean, Montreal. I mean, in the hypothetical that Montreal ties them in points tonight, this could be disastrous for Columbus. And I mean, then you got Carolina wedged right in between them. So yeah, exciting stuff there. And then obviously we were talking about the Yotes are 2 points behind Colorado. But what's interesting there is that they are currently tied in regulation and overtime wins. If depending on how things play out, I mean, yeah, it's going to be real interesting. So it's not quite official yet, but we do have. San Jose and Vegas is locked up, and we're going to do a preview of that later. But then it looks like the Isles and the Penguins will play each other, and then you got Boston, Montreal. But yeah, there's a few things still to figure out. But any thoughts on Barkov? I know Kevin's a big Sasha Barkov guy, so I don't know if he's got any thoughts about him already at such a young age, quietly, I guess, becoming their organization's all-time leading scorer in the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's his first year as the captain, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So, it's to the point where so many people have him regarded as being one of the more underrated players that, he's at this point rather well known by, not casual fans, but just by, the average, most fans. So, yeah, it's pretty cool that, he's sort of, building on past year success, and he's starting to get his name out there more. People are starting to realize how good this kid is. So, yeah, good for him. And, he's obviously got quite a bright future ahead of him. So long as, they start to figure their shit out in Florida.
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe even more people will become aware of Barkov if they get that Russian duo to go sign down there. So if him and the Breadman start playing on a line together, then you could see both their point totals go up even more too, which would be quite interesting. Because I mean, that's got to be a guy where that's got to be enticing for Panarin. I mean, obviously, if they're chasing just the money, then there's no state income tax and all that stuff. But Barkov's a nice forward to play with. I mean, to say the least. I mean, if you're Panarin,
they got Orchids of Asia too. That day spa,
The what?
The Robert Kraft Day Spa down in Florida. Get jerked off a couple times.
Yikes, buddy! Yikes!
Hey.
No, I mean props to you for taking. No, props to you for taking advantage of that one.
Yeah, a lot of people with great hands down in Florida.
Oh, jeez.
Any closing thoughts on the Blackhawks? I'll just say this. Personally, I know we got a lot of Chicago listeners, or a high percentage of them are from our area, but they have to do something with this defense. You can't. Taves is at 34 goals. Panarin and Kane are over 40. Strome has been great since he's come. Man, they've got some firepower up front, and they've had some guys, some depth pieces they picked up midseason. Now, I gave Brendan Perlini a lot of shit, but he had a few weeks there where he looked like he might be a decent bottom six piece on a short-term prove-it deal. Drake Kajula, who Kevin mentioned, they have to do something with this defense. Keith and Seabrook are just not what they were. Connor Murphy's not a top three guy. Gustafson is too big of a liability in his own end. You got guys like Boquist and Ian Mitchell and Jokiharju and Bodan in the system, but this is a big off season. There were some. They had chances, to possibly make a move at the deadline. They chose not to. They could have parted with some of the guys I mentioned from that young defense core to possibly add an impact forward. Maybe even trade for a D from somewhere. They didn't do that, but man, they got to get a defenseman or something because my biggest disappointment, just as a fan, and I am a fan, my biggest disappointment is that in this Western Conference was, yeah, the teams at the top are really good, but as far as the bottom teams go, it was a real easy year for them to sneak in. And 2 separate 8-game losing streaks. They had 2 games at home on a Friday and a Saturday where they had Colorado and Dallas at home. Didn't register a point in either game. Then they have the home and home with Colorado, and it was pretty much their last stand, and it was pretty much you got to win both these games in regulation, lose in Denver, in regulation by 2, and then at home you win, but you win in overtime. So you let them get 3 out of 4 points when you probably should have only let them get 1 at the most. So just a lot, Corey Crawford's health, but man, they really got to do something about that fucking defense, because the way the Western Conference was, they should have made it. And I know a lot of people joke about, that over-under gambling streak that, were them hitting the overs. But, yeah, their offense was really good. But that's a byproduct of them just having one of the shittiest defenses in the league. So they got to really fucking figure something out there. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know.
Yeah, real quick, you said Panarin, you meant DeBrincat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say
a little while ago? Yeah, but it's no big deal. I knew what you meant. You meant
40
DeBrincat.
baby.
But, yeah, I mean –
and they should pay him. Pay him and Strome now.
Yeah, I mean – if there was ever a time for me to go study abroad and kind of disconnect from hockey, it was earlier this year because of how bad the Hawks were. I think they hit both 8-game losing streaks when I was abroad, so I was sort of disconnected from the game. So I guess it sort of saved my blood pressure a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think you nailed I think you nailed it. With the amount of offense that they had this year, just great seasons from. The guys that you would expect, your captain, Kane, obviously, DeBrincat, as you said, Strome, all these guys, just really great to see. But unfortunately, just not enough on the defensive side. You mentioned Gustafsson. Keith and Seabrook are getting old, yes. I think Keith, definitely shows spurts. He had that OT goal against Colorado. I thought that was nice. I'm okay with Gustafsson the way he is. Offensively with, he's going to get burned on defense because that's just the nature of who he is as a defenseman. I'm okay with him being on the Hawks, and I'm okay with him taking those chances and getting beat every once in a while, but I'm not okay with him with this current D squad, if that makes sense. Like, I love the way the guy plays. He sets up DeBrincat and Kane on the power play all the time and in even strength. But if you're going to have a guy like that, then you need 1 or 2 absolute shutdown defensemen that can bail out Gustafsson if he gets burnt on a pinch or if he's below the goal line.
He needs to be paired with one.
Yeah. Well, Jarmelson?
No.
Or, I was going to say before they trade. Who?
Yeah, like Gustafsson, I mean, his D partner needs to be a...
Yeah, absolutely. But they just don't really have like that. Like, Jarmelson would have been a perfect example. Like, that's why Jarmelson and Oduya worked really well, is Oduya would take those chances. And Hammer was the hammer. He blocked shots, he hit guys. And you're just not really seeing that right now. So when he gets burnt, I think he sort of takes the brunt of the criticism because he's the one that's taking the chance. So he's like the first defenseman to get burnt, and it's just that the second defenseman is nowhere to be found because they're just not good enough to kind of keep up with that shit. So I say keep Gustafsson, but you have to find some solid defenseman. A guy that I don't care if that guy only gets like 20 points in a season. If he can block shots, eats pucks for days, breaks up 2-on-1s, breaks up 1-on-1s, hits guys hard, all that stuff, then sign him because that's what they need right now. They don't need a goal scorer on the back end. They need just good defensive defensemen fundamentally. Anyway, that's my rant over. Kevin, you have a third one?
Yeah. The problem is that's easier said than done, obviously, because, like you said, our like Keith and Seabrook are, top pair defensemen for God knows how long. They're clearly showing their age and declining in speed and just not playing the game as we know them. And when you look I think, so Erik Karlsson, who's still the only potential, one of those, we mentioned those top 3 free agents this coming free agency. Ekman Larson, Doughty, and then Carlson. 2 of those 3 are already locked up. So your only option, pretty much, if you want like an absolute stud on the blue line, is Erik Karlsson, who's going to be close to 30, and he's obviously very injured in recent years. So I don't know if you want to make that type of investment on a defenseman who's aging and injury prone, like I just said. So really the only way I think you can go about it is you have to hope that you hit on these defensive prospects that we've drafted in the last few years, or you have to trade for one. And, on the latter, I can't really think of an ideal trade scenario that you trade for a proven number 1 or number 2 defenseman. It's really hard. And it's important because that is the one thing that we need to be a good team again. Like, I don't know. These are just rough numbers. I can't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but compared to the Dallas Stars, we have scored 53 more goals than them, but we have allowed 89 more than them, and they're in a playoff spot. Like, this team can score goals, as we've seen, but our defense is just an absolute joke. So, like, if Stan Bowman does not address that this offseason, then we are just fucked for the foreseeable future.
And then they signed Carl Dahlstrom, which, it was cheap, but, how many one-way contracts can you put on a team that hasn't – or a defense unit that really has proven that they aren't really good just collectively?
And they signed Chad Chris not too long ago too. So it's like I can't really – put a finger on what they're trying to do here. Maybe it's like they're just trying to get as many as possible and hopefully they'll hit on a few of them. But like they really do need one bona fide number 1 defenseman. And I really can't think of a way how they get that.
Yeah.
But it has to be through trade, no?
Yeah. So next year they've got Seabrook, Keith, Murphy, Gustafson, and Dahlstrom all signed, and Slater Cuckoo and Gustav Forsling are restricted free agents. And then you have guys like Ian Mitchell, Boquist, kind of waiting in the wings, maybe Henry Yokoharu. So, I feel like I almost feel like they got to trade somebody somehow, but I don't know if they want to. So I almost think they might just – I almost think that the top 6 defensemen on the Blackhawks next year might already be in the organization, which I don't think is smart. But
do you think that includes Adam Boquist?
I hope to God. I think him and Gustafson running the point on a power play would be pretty lethal, personally speaking. But
I feel, yeah.
As we've seen, their power play has been running a lot of 4 forwards, 1 defense type stuff. So I was at the game last night, and I saw that they had Taves take the draw with Kane and DeBrincat on the wings, and they kind of had Strome kind of playing like a safety near the point, so playing with Gustafson. So, yeah, I don't know if they put them both out there at the same time, but yeah, Boquist obviously brings a lot of offensive firepower. He had a game the other night where he had 4 goals in one of the OHL games with London. So he's another guy who's not like polishing his own end though. Yeah, he's going to bring you offense, but yeah, it's really interesting. I almost look at guys like Forsling. I don't think Connor Murphy, Erik Gustafson, Forsling, I don't think any of those guys are 100% safe, but I'd lean towards that they're going to be back. And I think that they might not bring in an external defenseman, but I could be completely wrong here. But I don't think they're 100% safe because I don't know how you look at this unit and just bring them all back or go, oh, if we bring in a couple of rookies, this is going to change the whole complexion of the unit. But that's just me. So,
all right, you guys nailed it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know if we got anything else this week, but anyone got anything else? Otherwise, I think our next epi will be a playoff preview. So a couple quick scores. I know this might not hold because it's Edmonton, but it's 2-0 Edmonton early at the Pepsi Center with the LA Kings going to Arizona. So things could get real interesting there. Tampa and Montreal still tied. Columbus is still down 4 goals late in the third, so that game's done. So a lot of playoff stuff up for grabs, and Carolina's winning at Toronto. So you know what? If you're Columbus, we've said it before, and I don't mean to bring up we'll get into it if they actually miss, but we've said before about how epic of a disaster would be if the Blue Jackets don't make the playoffs. So I'm kind of looking at that as a topic that we might lead off with next week. If they cannot get in, then God help Jarmo Kekalainen, because that might be it for him. But other than that, boys, thanks for joining me this week, and it was a good chat, and look forward to doing a little preview next week. So that'll be good. So thanks for hopping on.
All right, fellas. Next week.
Yeah, of course. Till next week.
All right, take it easy, folks.